Our education institution, Alhamdulillah,
Yeah.
they can produce, no problem. They can produce you, all the talents. But then, where's the job? Where is the job? And this is where we fail, ba? And creating more job opportunities, right?
Welcome to the debut episode of the Brand New Day podcast. I'm your host, Zed Peace, and today we're joined by Tuan Malay Hassan Osman, who's gracefully joined us for the first episode. Today we'll be talking about a range of topics to do with Brunei's nation building, Brunei's development, how us as a youth we can contribute to Brunei's development, and as well some guidance maybe from Tuan on how we can, as a nation, how we can achieve our targets and objectives as a country, as a growing economy. So these are just some of the things I wanted to touch on. Maybe we can start by, we had a discussion the other day on your journey as a journalist. I thought it was fascinating because I would say Brunei in the 80s, 90s, maybe a different time to how it is now. What you see is maybe some of the differences back then and now.
So many differences. When you talk about macam kami reporter kan, today with the technology, it's very easy. Dulu we use typewriter.
Yeah.
We don't have electronic.
Laptop pun belum ada.
Belum ada.
Yeah.
No laptop, no computer, just typewriter. Okay. Then photography, we don't have digital before. And we use this camera
Yeah.
with the film. So,
Mesti develop pakai
develop
the liquid.
So imagine kan at that time kami punya office in KB di Belait. So I was stationed in Bandar. As a reporter, I was stationed in Bandar because the news more in Bandar. But Brunei Muara kan banyak news. Because that's the government seat kan.
Yeah.
So most of the news source itu come from the government. So I was stationed there. And imagine every day we have to source for news, look for the news, then type out the story, and then fax it to KB office. They send through fax. But today, easy.
Yeah.
It's a breeze. You just take picture, pakai phone ka apa, you just WhatsApp the picture or just email. What more with the story? Just, you can even make your story from your phone, and then just send it over. So that's the difference in the 80s, 90s, the challenge.
How about as a society back then, in terms of how we interact with each other, the activities we do?
I look at it in the context of my job as a reporter. Okay. Because of the challenges at that time to get information from the authorities, so you have to find other means of getting information. This is to enrich your news writing, to enrich your articles. Otherwise, it's very blunt. You just get one side of the story, right? So then we also make sure that the news we put out is relatable to the readers. Okay, it resonates their sentiment. It's about them. Even if there's a government policy, end of the day, the question is how it impact your life, right?
Okay.
So how you're going to get information is to get close to the people, to listen to them. So that's why I used to hang out in coffee shop at that time. Make a lot of friends. So then start, like now you have podcast.
Yeah.
Before we don't have podcast. What we do is just coffee talk. Go in the coffee shop, then throw them the issue. What do you think of this and this? So listen to the discussion. Whenever there's a new thing coming up, it will be talk of the town, right? So you listen and pick up what is their sentiment about it, what is their view. So that is your story. Then you match it with the policy, so you have both ways lah. Right? So that's how, and in Brunei, I think same juga like macam di other countries people like to hang out in coffee shop and have their there. This is the joint they get together. So there are the many stories there on the road, on the street.
Some of the key points that you raise in your articles that you've written for LinkedIn, I wonder if you see that these issues can actually be solved. Things like unemployment, our economy, our development, because you have the advantage of hindsight to maybe prescribe some remedies that we can actually implement. So that's where I always see people who's had years and years of experience. Durang ni tayo dapat share with the younger generation. This is what you can do, and from there we can maybe tackle some of the problems that they're facing today.
Sama, before that, I want to talk about, because I have my coffee talk with MHO.
Yeah, that's the one.
So it started when I was in the bulletin at the time. So our editor decided to set up a special column. We write about what people talk every day, in coffee shop. So we call it coffee politics at the time. So during that time, one of the issues was our entering the year 2000. Then we are very, it's a big issue. Y2K, Y2K, yeah? Y2K.
Year 2000.
It's like end of the world.
Yeah.
It's like the world is about to end. By the year 2000, kiamat habis. That's lagi. So it was big things at that time. So of course it's quite exciting, to listen to people what they talk about it, because some people they don't really know about it. So they make a lot of speculation, a lot of so those things we need to share with the stakeholders, especially policymakers, and so we need to give them the feedback. What people say about it is very important. Then, so this kind of thing can bring changes, right? So we may be critical, but end of the day, we want to contribute in the issue of good governance, right? In making policy, in making decision, Until today, we still have to play the same role, and to contribute to ideas and because we are talking about how we can affect changes, for the betterment of the country, of the nation. So I think this is where we play a role, as journalists, or even like your platform here can do the same thing, how to, invite people to think, right? Invite people to, to think about this thing.
If I see one of the key things that we're facing now, things like rising unemployment, we have students that will be out of jobs, or there won't be jobs for the graduates, for people finishing school. So I think this is maybe an issue that is maybe back then it wasn't as big or as rampant.
You see, macam katanya wawasan 2035, one of those in the agenda is to melahirkan rakyat yang berpendidikan tinggi dan berkebolehan, educated and with skill. We are quite successful in doing that, but we fail in opening more job opportunities for this, right?
Yeah.
Our education institutions, alhamdulillah, they can produce, no problem. They can produce you, all the talents, but then where's the job? Where is the job? And this is where we fail, and creating more job opportunities, right?
Yes.
So Alhamdulillah lah, we in the government tani di Brunei, ada kata punya research. This one was mentioned by His Majesty banyak kali kan, that we need a lot of this strong research institution to help decision makers. And so that is the challenge. The challenges. So what I can see now is that because of this problem of unemployment we have issues in our job market. The last statistic on our workforce in Brunei, 86,000 plus, I think 87,000, they're doing informal works. Informal works ni masuklah gig tu kan.
Okay.
So we're talking about gig economy in Brunei. The gig economy in Brunei ni is already growing because of this issue ni dah bekerja. So people now doing driving dat, go mamam, antar food sana sini, go online jual barang, buat kuih sana, set up, so like, on these social media things. So these are the gig economy growing in Brunei, kan? Because of the employment in the formal employment so now people go to do all this gig, and these are being neglected, kan? Maybe you have income, but you don't have the security, you don't have the pension, you don't have the TAP, What else? All privileges mana ada orang gig economy ni? They are about 25,000 I think of the 86,000 ni. About 15 to 25,000 yang bekerja freelance, part time, jadi driver, freelance, cameraman kah, menggambar wedding dia, apa itu ini. And they are not regulated, they are not part of the top system atau kan? They are not part of ini, so no privileges. And imagine what happened when you grow old at the time. You cannot do all this thing anymore. Now with this, dah datang, dah apa diterima. Kan? Good lah kalau your children kerja yang bagus-bagus, they can support. But what if they also don't have that, So, looking into the future, I think we need to look into this gig economy lah in Brunei. How we can regulate it lah, make sure these people are in the being
Left out
ba?
Yeah.
And
I agree.
they cannot be left out ba? For example, doing this kind of thing, if you come from a well-off family, no problem lah, isn't it? Your parent can support you, buy equipment, apa itu ni. But if you have the talent, but you don't have the capacity to do this, right? But you have good talent. So your problem is that you don't have money to buy the equipment, but you have the idea, you have the vision. Jadi I think this is where the government can come in to work with the bank, give them soft loan, micro loan just to buy the equipment with government collateral guarantee, just to make sure bank feel comfortable to give you some money to start your small business. This is one of the things that we can, I mean, in Malaysia, in Singapore, they're doing the same.
Yeah, I would say if it's other countries, when it comes to freelancing, gig economies, the strong support also comes from the private sector as well. You get, kalau di Malaysia, if you look at the social media content, podcasting, online, it's being sponsored, it's being supported by all sorts of companies, all sorts of
I mean, now you go to the
businesses.
bank, you want to pinjam 5,000 kah? Kena pinjami kah?
Probably not. Dia kala.
Apa collateralnya? Apa business? What kind of, because your income is not consistent.
Yeah.
Tapi potential there, isn't it? You're part of the industry, kan?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you don't support them because this one, if you don't look into it, you will have big social problem in the future. There will be a lot of poverty issue. Yeah. Homeless kali. Masa kamu apply rumah, apa kerja mo? Kamu dapat rumah. Yeah. So, are you going to wait for that problem to come? Okay, you can start thinking now and do something. Nah. This is my, this is my concern lah when I look around kan, a lot of my friend apa kerja mas ni? Oh, driver that, you know. Apa you buat mas ni? Ngantar makanannya. The other day I met a friend. I say, hey, basar anak kita. Oh, apa dibuatnya? Graduate. Jual teh tarik online-nya. Alhamdulillah, okay. Okay nya. Tapi, what the future for him ba? Nah, he's still in his mid-20s. So, hopefully, murah rezekinya ada di venture-nya lain. Tapi, itu ba. When is he going to start saving for the future? Mana dia dapat dia kan ketam itu ni kan dari kerja. If there is a policy saying that okay, walaupun you kerja you still can contribute, macam mana caranya? And then also like freelancing kan ba. Okay, a lot of company barangkali outsourcing, pakai yang part time ni saja. There's no contract. Saja. Maybe today they can say, oh, I am paying you this much, but the next day, because we don't have budget, I'll pay you this much. So there's no contract. Kalau ada dispute, how are you going to address that issue? How can you secure that, that when you provide the job, you'll be paid? Tapi I think with a proper policy, regulating this gig company, gig registering them, so this will be this will orang beneficial lah for them kan, for the country pun okay juga, because you will put a stop on the social problem that's going to come up, because if you ignore this issue, kan, if you ignore this thing, you're going to have problem. So this one of the issues lah when you think about unemployment. Berapa banyak graduate yang unemployed at the moment? Berapa banyak yang underemployed? You see? This is fact. This is not a made-up story, kan? I wrote about it. Maybe people think I'm critical, tapi that is the fact. We cannot just brush it under the carpet ba. Kan, we have to look into it and think about it lah. During my time at that dulu masa reporter tu dulu, you cannot write about poverty. Tabu tu, anda boleh. Ada pulang, tapi jangan dimension di budaya ni ada orang miskin. Karena marah itu. I was kena before. When I wrote about poverty. Pasal kata ni denial ba, mana ada orang miskin di Brunei. Nah, because we are in denial, it affect our decision making. Then we try to justify, di Brunei ni relative poverty saja. We use nice word ba. End of the day still miskin betul, susah orang tu ba. Tidak. So akhir-akhirnya kata ni kembali kepada wawasan negara kata ni. Wawasan negara kata ni itu ialah kata ni mau negara Brunei ni kekal menjadi sebuah negara Melayu Islam beraja yang demokratik, yang sentiasa mendapat keampunan Allah SWT, aman, tentram, mendapat keampunan Allah, kan? Ataupun mendapat perlindungan Allah. So, very pulang macam bunyinya philosophical tapi in reality, benar tu. Apakah kata ni sekarang ni sejahtera? Adakah kata ni sekarang ni aman? You feel aman kan tak?
Maybe depends on who you're talking to. Maybe some.
Yeah, I mean sekarang ni in term of orang bekerja arah swasta lah. Kalau habis kontrak, you will be out of job. So aman ke tak? Tidak aman tu nyaman tidur. Apalagi kerja aku ni Tidak ada ketentraman tu In this is on personal level lah kan.
Yeah.
Tidak ada keamanan tu. Tidak Tidak ada
Security.
job security itu tidak ada pak kan. Because kalau orang bekerja, ini I was told lah kan, macam this company, he has to retrench around 200 locals because dia punya kontrak itu require them to go digital, go more on automation. So you don't need, kalau dulu ya supply 400, no, cut out lah. Dia punya issue, where am I going to place these people? I don't have job anymore. So in the end,
Let go of the.
let go. Diorang ni berkeluarga ni, ada anak, sekolah kan dibayar, apa itu ni. Kan? So, in term of keamanan, kesejahteraan affected dong tu. Kan? So, itu yang kata ni risaukan ni. Kan? Kata ni mau negara kata ini benar-benar aman, tentram, sejahtera. Bukan saja physically di Brunei ni sejahtera, tapi manusianya tu pun sejahtera lah. Itu yang kita mau kan. Ya. Makanya dalam hal ini, dalam kesedaran ini, kita ni sebagai rakyat bertanggung jawab juga untuk sama-sama memelihara kesejahteraan itu. Macam mana kita memelihara? On my part, I write a story lah to highlight supaya jangan kita lupa, jangan kita hidup dalam hayalan. Ya, supaya kita sama-sama berpikir. Bukannya kerana kita itu jangan kita dilihat kerana kita banci ke benda. It's not because of our love to the country itu.
Yeah.
Kan? That's why we are doing this. Ya. Ada orang yang milih untuk menyalah tafsirkan. Nah, ini yang kita kesal ini. Dan diambil positif itu. So, for me, I'm just doing my duty selaras dengan tuntutan agama kata ni, amar ma'ruf nahi mungkar. Ya, mengajak pada kebaikan dan mencegah daripada kemungkaran. Jadi apabila ada masalah-masalah sosial yang berlaku sekarang ini, isu sekarang ini yang sebagai sukat-sukatnya kesejahteraan itu sudah sedikit sebanyak tergugat apabila kita ini melihat statistik orang yang mengalami masalah jiwa, mental illness, kesihatan mental, berapa ribu. You know, berapa ribu yang now under treatment mental illness di Brunei?
It's probably a big number.
15,000 kali, if I'm not mistaken. Yang menghadapi masalah mental, artinya tekanan, depression. This is, and they are young people. Waduli risau tu. Dalam titah yang menyebutkan tu. And the last one pun he mentioned about that. He's worried. Entah kan? Because of this job insecurity, financial problem, you know, unemployment, and you still have to look after your parents. And then with your small salary, you have pressure at home. So, this thing affect your mental health. Tempat bekerja lagi sekarang, office politik lain macam lagi. Banyak macam, banyak cabaran hidup banyak kan. Cabaran hidup banyak. Sama ada kata ni sebagai warga ni ada kekuatan untuk menghadapi cabaran-cabaran hidup ini. Kalau you are strong, you go through it. Going back to our history, when we are still kids, our exposure because of the challenges, life of challenges masa tu, you know, we still have problem with money. My parents pun punya orang well off, kan. So I remember kami for fun ulang kali tu Tapi that's something I cannot forget. Berjual ice cream. Pagi-pagi, my late mother buat kue. I antar ke kedai kopi. You know. So, kan sekolah kena beri belanja ni, tak ada ni. Tak ada pernah. Kan begini, saya mau belanja makan, tak ada. Kan kena antar sekolah. Tak ada, jalan kaki. Jalan kaki. Kamu tunggu, minta ambil. Tak ada tu. Tak ada tu dulu. Permainan ini kan membalik, tak ada tu. Buat sendiri. Membuat sendiri. Tapi because of that, we are strong. We can face challenges itu.
Yeah.
Sekarang ini generasi sekarang ini apakah dorang ada kekuatan macam itu? Dengan exposure dorang main game saja apa itu ini? What kind of society we are going to have in the future? This is something you have to think about and be very concerned about. Sebenarnya. Kalau katanya lalai, itulah kalau sudah katanya sanang berduit berapa itu ni, kali mana saya mikirkan itu ia punya hal lah. Mana boleh cakap kan?
Any National Day this year, 41st National Day anniversary. How far have we come along as a country in terms of macam in those 41 years, and how much more do we need to go? 41 is a big number already.
Yeah. Basically, kalau akan ikut my life ini, I was in journalism in 1986 kali. 2 years after independence ba. So I was there already kan. Already writing about all this about our development, progress and development at the time. I remember katanya punya housing scheme. I was one of those lucky lah who, not me and my late wife, ia dapat rumah perpindahan. And then we live in Kampung Pandan itu. When you look at the design itu, Masya Allah, dia punya konsep apa tu kan bagus. Di sana ada apa taman rekreasi. We have our Tasik Kanu Lagoon. We have at the back itu pathway betul untuk orang berjogging ke apa. It connect to all the villages there. Masjid pun sana apa itu ni. Semua tu. You know, we have a very good drainage. I mean, it's very holistic design lah. We have basketball court sana. You know, we have untuk bersukan ni ada lah semua di perumahan tu. Ada. At the time. Imagine, kata ni pun baru merdeka kan. Jadi masa tu pun saya punya decision maker tu masih semangat lah. Patriotic. So building rumah ni orang puas hati lah. Kawasan besar, rumah pun besar. Syok lah kan. Ni ya. Then as we go progressing and that, then we start talking about land use. We have to be very wise lah in the use of the land. Jadi masa tu pun designer terpaksa lah ikut polisi baru kan. Buat rumah damit-damit saja. Nah ya, cukup untuk tinggal lah. That's why I can say lah the progress kan. Jadi dulu bisa semua ada. Sekarang ni perumahan okey lah ada. Alhamdulillah, syukurlah ada rumah lah. Tapi not as luxurious as we have before lah. So, itu in terms of housing. Jadi masalah sekarang ni, yang dulunya Pandan tu banyak facilities apa tu, pun sekarang ni tidak ada lagi. Lagoon yang dulu cantik itu, sekarang ni tanpa sarang buaya. Drain-drain yang besar-besar untuk flood tu, untuk menangani isu kebanjiran pun sekarang ni penuh dengan rumput. Tempat perjalanan dulu yang lawa-lawa tu, dah kita perjalani, berular apa tu. Pasal maintenance kan.
Yeah.
We don't have the budget to maintain. Sayang, wasted. Tapi itu menjejaskan, menjadi ancaman kepada kesejahteraan penduduk. Community sana tu lah. Psychologically it affect you kan. Tempat permainan kanak-kanak pun hancur. Tidak lagi ada. Kalau yang dulu, beautiful man. Evening you can see family keluar tempat tu, bawa anak-anaknya main apa itu. Aku dulu anakku tempat sana main. So we get together there. Community life itu syok lah. Kan? Sekarang ni apa? Semua sibuk dalam rumah. Main game, internet apa itu ya. So, I don't know. What I can do is not right. Right, boleh. At least, di akhirat kan kalau aku tanya, yes, I did something lah. Nah ya, tanggungjawab. Kata ni, masing-masing ada tanggungjawab. Nah ya, how small you are in the community, on the society itu ada tanggungjawab tadi. List tanggungjawab menjaga diri sendirilah. Nah ya, menjaga keluarga kan. Kalau ada kebolehan lagi apa? Bolehlah contribute to the society, to the bigger society itu. So, akhir-akhirnya kita ni yang diberikan amanah itu mudah-mudahan lah akan menjalankan amanah dengan baik, bertanggungjawab kan. Dan ada empati itu, memikirkan ehwal masyarakat itu. Bukan saja kan menjalankan tugas kerja, selesai, KPI-nya achieve, selesai. Nah ya. We are not numbers lah, kan? Ini kadang-kadang kata ni sedih juga kan menyapai KPI. Apa KPI doang ni KPI. Tapi beyond that KPI itu berapa banyak yang affected kah? Apa yang mana tu kan? Ini ya. Sempena hari kemerdekaan 61 tahun sudah kata ni merdeka ni. Kata ni berharap kehadapan ni kata ni akan lebih baik lagi lah kan. Sekarang ni alhamdulillah pencapaian kata ni itu nampak lah. Kata ni banyak orang graduate, doktor PhD ni pun banyak sudah. Entah, maybe I'm silap tapi pendengarku hari itu ada pembaca berita pun doktor aja. Dulu mana ada tu, kan? Doktoran ni hanya di university. Sekarang ni pun sudah ada yang master degree pun jual arah kerja arah pasport saja. Oh, tidak pulang bukan pulang kataikan dengan bukan merendahkan, tapi you see the trend kan, you see the value of ni is not as
what it was before lah.
As prestigious as before kan.
Now people see education as just a piece of paper. They say,
I remember dulu banyak orang luar kerja sini kan berjual dari di retail industry kata ni jadi clerk apa itu ini. When you interview them, ada yang master degree, ada yang bachelor degree, graduate tu orang luar tu dulu. Tapi kata ni pun macam paham lah kan, artinya job di luar negeri tu dah lagi ada apa.
yeah,
Jadi terpaksa tu orang ambil kerja di luar negeri jadi and I never imagine this thing is going to happen to us.
yeah.
I never imagined that. Now, Allah Akbar.
But that's the trend now. I think job seekers are looking outside to
Yes.
opportunities as
Yes.
well.
Itu pun salah tu. Okey pulang kan. Banyak. Yalah, artinya katanya tu ada value, ada market value kan. Digunai di luar negeri. Satu pencapaian dia tu kan. Orang Brunei ni boleh go to di global market kan untuk mencari kerja. Tapi ramai orang kata ni. Artinya talented lah orang katanya tu. Dari segi kebolehan apa itu ni sudah ke atas. Tapi sayang kan dia orang boleh digunakan di sini lah. Benar ya? Have we appreciate them enough? Sama je macam gig ekonomi ni kan. Are we really appreciating the creative industry ni? The talent in the ni kan. If we appreciate, jangan cakap saja tapi do something. Encourage them, give incentive. Make sure they're not denied of all the privileges itu. Samakan juga. Jadi, we cannot create more job, but these people can create their own opportunities.
Yeah.
If there's incentive, they will. Tidak kan?
Yeah, I agree.
They will create their own opportunities because ada incentive. Yeah. And they feel cared for. Bukannya kena ignore kan. So, iyalah kehadapan ni ketandingannya ada lagi 10 tahun untuk mencapai merealisasikan wawasan 2035 ni. In term of kata ni producing educated and skill people ni sudah alhamdulillah dah ada pencapaiannya. Sekarang ni yang kata ni masih lagi berusaha ialah macam mana kata ni memastikan diorang ni ada peluang pekerjaan tu. Dan bukannya peluang pekerjaan ni yang tu tapi setara dengan pendidikan diorang, setara dengan kebolehan diorang tu kan. Ya. Jangan sekarang dia memegang degree bagian master degree in physics. Akhir-akhirnya arahan dia bekerja membuat burger. Ada, bukan ada, kan? Jadi kadang-kadang kecewa, mengalir saya belajar. Baik, aku belajar membuat burger dulu. Tenang lagi, kan? Jadi itu antara perkara yang kata ni harapkan macam mana kata ni doa lah. Mudah-mudahan akan lebih banyak pelabur asing masuk ke negara Brunei buat bisnes sini. Jadi buka job opportunities yang banyak. Tapi at the same time, belia-belia kata ni mesti kita juga pandai menyorang hidup berdikari ni lah. Berusaha sendiri. Dalam hal ini, kata ni memerlukan pihak berkuasa untuk memastikan diorang semangat diorang itu tidak disia-siakan. Harapan diorang itu tidak disia-siakan. Bagilah kemudahan. Siapa yang ada talent kan berbuat jual burger, kan membuka kedai runcit kedai ataupun kan berpasar ke apa itu ini, bagilah modal kan. Kalau tempat pinjam ke bank, bagilah jaminan sedikit. Maybe 80% itu kau jamin ni kan ini terbayar, aku bayar. Government will pay. Selain dia terbayar. Tapi of course lah, the prosesnya tu, you have to really be selective kan, yang mana-mana you can support. That will be in the process lah. Tapi basically, the thing is that we can meet the expectation of the job seekers ni. It's not that we cannot at the moment we are still struggling to create more job opportunities. Tapi at the same time, if we have this kind of policy where we assist people in the gig economy that will help a lot. That will encourage more people to rather than seeking job in government apa itu ini, opportunity sana pun ada ya. Itu dia support kan. In term of dia punya future pun secure.
The way I see in terms of those that want to start up their own businesses, we don't want to be macam just spoon-fed. Bagi tahu what to do. But at the same time, we are aware of the reality in terms of if you're starting, let's say, your own food business from home, we're aware that in terms of how to actually get customers, how to secure sales, it's going to be a big challenge. We always see kalau macam di Malaysia, Singapore, they seem to have a steady stream of customers who will always support the business. But because maybe we're such a small population, small community, in terms of how to sustain as a home-based business, small medium enterprise, it's more difficult. So in that sense, I don't know what the solution is for that. Kalau tas kiranya banyak lagi, we have an increase in tourism, let's say, arrivals of people yang dapat beli local products. That will contribute to the businesses in the market, kan?
BEDB have this startup program, kan?
Yeah.
So they should include this gig in the startup support lah. That is a good That's a good I'm not sure how successful lang ito. Tapi so far from the news ito, dibaca sana sini ito, quite orang encouraging lah. Melihat kata punya youth involved in the startup, how they mentoring, all this kind of thing ito. Tapi again, you must remember 86,000 people di Brunei ni doing informal work. Informal work and including gigs. Wedding, make-up, apa itu ini ba. So don't ignore these people because they are going to face big social problem in the future around if we don't address this at this time kan. So that is my message lah. Macam beli-beli tani masa ni, jangan terlalu berharap pada bantuan kerajaan, kerajaan. Pandai berhidup sendiri, create your own opportunities. Okay. For example, like you, alhamdulillah, I'm very pleased. Mendengar you punya program apa itu ni, that's good. You should continue doing the same thing.
Thank you.
So I will support you. Don't worry.
Thank you,
I love the nation. I love the people. I love His Majesty. Okay? So, I'm doing this out of love. Negara Ketandian ni, dengan negara-negara lain, Alhamdulillah, aman. Oh, natural disaster, ada berapa lah. In term of crime kata ni pun okay lah. Nah ya, tolerable. Yes, we have unemployment problem. We have mental issues. We have a lot of other issues lah. Tapi those things bukannya end of the world. Doomsday, enggak kan? We still, itu sebagai teguran daripada Allah. Untuk kata ni, membuat yang lebih baik. Membuat yang terbaik. Kan? Bukannya pulang satu kecelakaan bagi petani, tapi itu sebagai satu ujian untuk petani.
True.
Dan juga itu satu teguran. Kan?
Yeah.
Kalau kamu benar-benar mau mendapat rahmatku, jagalah amanah dengan baik. Nah, jalankan tanggungjawab dengan ikhlas. Nah ya, apabila petani sudah membelakangi Allah, nah ya, ini masalahnya timbul. Saya cakap pasal sikit agama lah.
Oh, I mean, it's valuable advice as well. I think, macam us as the youth, as we want to contribute. We want Brunei to be
Yeah.
reach
This is
its
our
potential,
country.
right? Yeah.
Okay? I was one time was in Cape Town in South Africa. So I attended the seminar there. And at that time, when di Cape Town itu, I was really having serious culture shock. Because bila malam itu, kami berjalan mencari tempat makan, while walking to the restaurant itu, suddenly melabuk manusia gugur dari bangunan.
Oh.
Wow, aduh. Rupanya orang berkelahi di atas, betul lah. Itu one time tu lari terus. Then one time lagi, I was out from my hotel room itu. Then there was this guy standing in the dark itu, sigup-sigup kan. Suddenly somebody rush him, kicuk paruhnya. Macam in the movie. We have never seen that in Brunei, mana ada tu. Culture shock itu, kajut itu anda berani. So I mean, we're talking about peace, those things never happen to us, kan? Nah ya, I was in Philippines at the time, just shopping. Suddenly, lihat polis mana berbubut. What I did was just jump to one ada moving jeepney, ikut saya terus, jalan lari keluar. Balik pun Alhamdulillah, nice lah.
Now you appreciate the peace.
Oh, appreciate, ya Allah.
Yeah.
Nah ya, and I want that to we maintain that Nah, kita mesti pelihara tu, jaga keselamatan kita itu, peace tu. Jangan jaga cakap saja, kan? Jangan cakap saya akan jaga, tapi tidak ada tidak buat. Mesti kita buat dia. Jadi aku tulis saja cerita. Tagur saya kan, marah-marahlah aku boleh buat kan. Niat aku saya lah ikhlas.
Yeah.
Nah, ya.
So actually, maybe after 41 years of independence, we actually do have a lot to be grateful for in terms of we have maintained our
Yes.
identity, our
Peace and stability. Yes, we have maintained that.
Yeah.
You know. So kehadapan ini yang kita risaukan lagi ni.
Yeah. Now it's,
Kehadapan ini yang kita risaukan melihat keadaan generasi kita ni yang ada sekarang ini semakin jauh daripada jati diri ni. Kami dulu one of the pioneer lah in PKBN and doing the training motivation, and one of the subject is net jati diri. Macam mana memastikan memberi kesedaran kepada belia-belia tu pentingnya menjaga jati diri kita itu sebagai orang Brunei yang hidup dalam negara Melayu Islam berajaan ni, macam mana kita jaga, jangan hilang identiti kita ni tu. Bila sudah kata ni menjaga jati diri ni, ini sama salahnya ni, kata ni akan dijajah. Nah ya, kata ni akan kena pijak-pijak. Masalahnya, asal kata menjaga jati diri, ikut berkiblat ke mana-mana tu saja. Nah, Orang Brunei-nya tu tidak lagi ada. Semangat Brunei-nya tu tidak lagi ada. Ini yang kita risaukan ni. Bila sudah jati diri itu tidak ada, macam mana kita ni kan mengharapkan dia menjaga keselamatan negara. Kalau dia menjadi pemimpin, tidak ya. Kalau sudah orang yang sudah hilang jati dirinya ni, duduk di tempat yang penting-penting memimpin, kena jual negeri kita ni. Jual enggak? Ini yang kita risaukan. Tapi insyaAllah, dengan doa tani semua, berkat doa tani, saya mengharapkanlah kehadapan ini, katanya akan lebih berjaya, lebih baik lagi, lebih maju lagi. Maju bukan dari segi katanya ada bangunan tinggi, maju kerana katanya ada macam bersaing dengan negara-negara yang besar-besar bangunannya, dia punya kemajuan dari segi materialnya itulah. Tapi katanya mau kemajuan dari sudut spiritual katanya juga dan akhlak katanya dan intelektual orang Brunei itu, kekuatan kemajuan orang Brunei itu. Atau yang majunya kan tidak payah menggambarkan dengan lambang dengan menara tinggi-tinggi. Bukannya sukat-sukat ketani sana kejayaan tu. Kejayaan itu apabila ketani di Brunei ini kemiskinan tidak ada. Masalah kesihatan mental tidak ada. Nah ya, apa lagi? Masalah ketani punya food security. Tidak ketani risau. Kalau sekiranya ada berperang di Thailand kan, di Cambodia ke apa, tidak ketani risau. Baras ketani cukup sini. Nah, bila dulu COVID, kepisahan juga kali ya. Payah, mun bawang pun dah masuk, apa pun dah masuk. Nah ya. So, apa yang kita risaukan tu? Jadi besar pun bangunanmu. Mun sudah kalau makanan dah masuk ke Brunei, apa ni makan?
When it comes to development, and it's not, as you say, just in terms of material development, kan? It's also...
Yeah, I mean, it's good. We have all this kan? If it is necessary, it really contribute to the prosperity of the country. Yes, kalau kayaknya untuk kebanggaan ketani, menunjukkan ketani sebuah negara maju, tapi tidak ada relevannya, dan kadang-kadang merusakkan bangsa ketani, tidak perlulah. Tidak perlu tak ketani kan comply sama orang punya expectation dia. Brunei dah macam Dubai, dah macam mana. Okey, Dubai lah. Tapi bermasalah je orang tu. Kan? Jadi ketani Brunei ni, ketani mau maju. Maju yang sebenar-benarnya. Bangsa yang maju. Bangsa yang bangga dengan sejarahnya. Ya. Apa yang ketani mau tu maju tu kan? Ya, walaupun bangunannya dia tinggi, tapi bangsanya yang ada pendidikan, ada kebolehan. Ya. Tidak ada kesejahteraan negara ni dijaga dengan baik apa itu ini. Nah, negara Melayu Islam Beraja kan negara zikir ni ingat Allah segala-galanya tu. Kerana Allah. Nah, apa yang kita buat ni ibadah. Nah ya, your podcast ni is ibadah. Because apa? Kerana kata ni menyumbang mengajak kepada kebaikan. Nah ya, dan juga memberikan kesadaran juga kan barang-barang ini jangan tadi dibuat, kalau boleh tinggalkan kerana yang membawa kemudaratan kepada negara ketani, membawa kemudaratan bangsa ketani. Nah, tapi oleh kerana kadang-kadang ketani terdesak ke apa itu ini karena ekonomi terlampau merosot apa itu ini, sehingga ketani pun hilang jati diri itu untuk kepentingan buat decision sekarang membuat apa itu ini. In the end, what happened in other countries now, problem kan, social problem, they have a lot of issues with FDI ni kan, macam mana tanah durang kena ambil, kena develop apa itu ini, so a lot of non-compliant punya issue dia, so kedaulatan negara tu terancam oleh kerana kata ni mengambil keputusan barangkali anda melihat daripada berbagai sudut lah. Nah ya, ataupun barangkali kan menampakkan bahawa dia itu maju. Mana kata ni perlu segera menyelesaikan masalah unemployment ini. Perlu. Very urgent. Ya. Kerana lagi kita ni dapat menyelesaikannya, lagi banyak masalah sosial akan berlaku. Pengangguran kan, tidak ada bekerja apa itu ini. Apabila kemiskinan ini, ya Rasulullah boleh membawa kepada apabila miskin ini boleh jadi kita ni jadi fasik bah, jadi you know. Nah ya, bila orang tu miskin, dia akan boleh affect dia punya akidah lah. Nah, kalau kata yang dapat pandai-pandai, masalah tu. Masalah. Nah ya, kerana kesejahteraan. Apabila sudah memohon bantuan pun payah-payahan, memohon zakat pun barangkali susah baginya, akhir-akhirnya apa? Kan? Ini isu ni.
Yeah.
Isu kebajikan, masalah.
So I think as a youth, we want to work hard. We want to thrive juga. Financially, we want to thrive. Emotionally, we want to thrive. If you're constantly thinking, oh, it's going to be macam mana, your life is like this, struggling apa. But I think instill that positive mindset is I think that's how you managed to survive all these years juga kan, Tuan?
InsyaAllah. InsyaAllah lah. Kita ni hidup ni with this age now, ada lain tujuan kita ni mencari keridaan Allah saja. Mencari keridaan Allah tu saja. Macam mana kita mencari keridaan tu? Membuat kerja-kerja yang Allah suka lah. Nah ya. Ini Allah suka ni kerja macam ni.
InsyaAllah.
Nah ya. Bukan cakap kosong. Kan?
Yeah.
Cakap mengenai dengan macam mana kita ni sama-sama mengajak kepada perubahan mindset. Supaya kita ni membuka mata, melihat sekeliling kita ni mengenai dengan kepayahan yang dihadapi oleh masyarakat. Nah ya. Mengenai dengan cabaran-cabaran yang dihadapi. Nah ya. Kita ni membantu generasi-generasi ni supaya ada kekuatan untuk menghadapi cabaran-cabaran ni. Kita ni bantu diorang macam mana supaya diorang ni jangan mudah putus asa.
Yeah.
Kerana rezeki ni Allah yang bagi. Itu yang kita mau.
Yeah.
Beri kesedaran itu. Yang tinggal lagi kita ni kena usaha. Makanya timbul konsep duit ni kan, mesti ada duit. Tahu kata? Apa duit? Doa, usaha. Usaha tu mesti ada iltizam, kesungguhan kan. Kemudian tawakal pada Allah. Serahkan pada Allah saja.
InsyaAllah.
Jadi jangan lupa doa tu apa? Mindset lah. Doa kan mesti first thing is kita ni ada dream bah. Dream and hope. Nah ya. Dan usahakan dia. Nah ya, usahakan dia. Lepas tu berusaha tu jangan angkat-angkat ayam. Usaha sekali berhenti. Mesti ada iltizam, kesungguhan. Lepas tu serahkan kepada Allah. Nah ya, Allah tak menentukan tu. Berjayakah, tidak berjayakah. Itu Allah. It's not your job lagi tu. Yang you job ni, Anis ya. Tria ni. Makanya beli-beli katanya tu, mesti ada konsep ni ditanamkan dalam kepala orang.
Excellent advice, Tuan. Excellent
Doa,
advice.
Usaha, komitmen, iltizam. Komitmen to what you're doing itu. You're committed to do it. You're committed to realize your dream. Nah ya. And then the rest, you leave it to Allah. Itulah yang may pesanan lah.
So again, thanks for sharing all your advice, your wisdom. I think hopefully a lot of people, I'm already benefiting from this. The motivation that you give, it's very valuable, I would say. Even the motivation you give from macam your articles. I'll put a link on where you can find Tuan Malai's articles also online.
Selagi ada nyawa, selagi Allah bagi kesihatan, utak pun masih okey, kontribusinya mahadirnya, Allah sudah bagi kamu utak, Allah bagi kamu kesihatan, kamu apa buat dengan apanya? Kamu tidur, makan, santai-santai di rumahnya. Artinya dah mensyukuri nikmat Allah. Mahadir punya cakap tu. Tidak kau mensyukuri nikmat Allah punya. Sudah dibagi utak yang baik. Tidak kau pakai baik kau lihat TV apa itu ini di rumah. Tidak pakai anak tu bah. Jadi I like that statementnya tu kan, benar ya. So it motivate me lah. I got otak, pakailah. I got talent, use lah. Nah ya. Jangan disia-siakan kerana anugerah Allah betul. Kan? I want you to continue doing what you're doing.
Thank you, Tuan.
Okay?
Yeah.
And develop more, expand more. Nah ya. Make your platform ini establish as a platform for contributing to the nation development, progress and development. You know, in your own way, and bring in more people. We are a lot of talented people. Lama-lama tu, invite them here. Let's share with them the wisdom. I learned a lot from them. I learned a lot from those people. So don't be shy to learn and be humble. Bukannya katanya semua tahu pandai. This bring me to what Ustaz Abdul Samad baru-baru ni ceramahnya tu kan. Was talking about Isra Mi'raj. And then it was about Rasulullah SAW punya Isra Mi'raj tu. Jadi he was looking at it at different angle lah. Ya. Rasulullahnya masa tu diangkat ke langit menggunakan burak. And then yang mendampingi ke dia dua malaikat. Jibril dan Mikail kah? So, katanya di sana Rasulullah tu boleh saja ya naik ke langit itu dengan kuasa Allah kun fayakun bah. Nah ya, tapi Allah tu kan mengajar kita ni, you cannot do everything bah. The burak represent technology. Nah ya, use technology untuk menyampaikan ke Lauh Mahfuz itu kan. And then dia punya assistant ni membuat research, memberi ke dia input, memberi penerangan ni. Malaikat dua ni kan menceritakan ke dia ni. Tanya saya ni. Sekarang ni katanya apa? Google ada apa itu ni kan. Kan pelang ketika menyemakkan makanya konsep itu the teamwork itu that you alone you need people.
Yeah.
You need people, you need technology. Kan? So, itu satu pengajaran betul. That's why I stick to my mind tu, punya tu. Baru tak pernah mendengar people look at this miracle ni from different angle lah. Paling tahun-tahun ni tak akan dengar soal naik burak, lihat neraka, melihat surga, melihat anu. And then at that time pun masa ia menerima perintah sembahyang itu pun ada negotiation lagi. Turun, minta kurangi. Yeah. So, artinya, dan ia minta pandangan lagi tu. Dia minta pandangan lah pada Nabi ni kan. So, he got input, umatmu dah dapat ni. So, paksa lagi negotiate. So, kalau Rasulullah tu, yang jenis sombongnya, apa pandai mo? Aku pun nanti jadi Nabi sudah. Balik. Dan, tapi itu pengajarannya apa? Kan? Artinya, apa-apa yang kita buat ni, mesti ada teamwork lah. Dan kita ni need others also, and we need technology kan. And then also there's always orang discussion or orang negotiation kan, something like that lah. So that's pengajaran lah. Dalam hidup kita ni suatu je kan.
Yeah,
kita ni jangan lah. Ceritanya jangan tersumbung. Nah ya, kita ni semua tahu. You think I know everything I wrote itu kan? Tak ada. I got people lah yang give me input. Nah ya, who wish that I can highlight it in my So alhamdulillah. It's not all from me kan. Ceritanya ada people yang kan around me yang like few people will give me ideas, inspiration. Okay, itulah.
Anyone who's watching this, viewing this podcast, Tuan Malahasan is definitely not only the pioneer, but we need people like him.
InsyaAllah.
To learn from for our own future. Again, thanks for joining, Tuan.
Thank you also for inviting me.
So that's the Brand New Day podcast. Catch you guys next time. Peace. Assalamualaikum.